Hello dear students, welcome to lecture 5 of Responsive Web Design with ASP.NET 5 and MVC Pattern and Bootstrap 5. So if you remember that we have seen partial views the previous week, so we will continue from our next chapter today. To do that, I will just copy and paste the previous week's source code. By the way, some of our students said me that could we do it from beginning. Even though I am copy and pasting the previous lectures code, we have written everything from scratch. So if you start from lecture 1, you will see all the coding up to the lecture 5. If you have specific questions, feel free to ask me them in our Discord channel. If you still cannot understand that, then you can try to rewatch our previous lectures. Okay, so today we are going to start with layout of our website's projects. Let's start with introduction.
Ever since the first website was created and expanded from a single page to several pages, the need to share specific parts of the pages became obvious. Use cases for this ranges from having the same footer at the bottom of each page belonging to the same website, to reusing very complex layouts, metadata and everything else around the actual content of a web page.
For example, on this page right now, we are seeing a lot of reuses such as this menu bar, or this download a PDF part, or the footer here. Even this layout at the right side is same, but it changes according to our current page, but it is repeating. Okay, our project is opened, so I will just start with renaming the solution name. This doesn't rename our namespace, therefore not everything is renamed, but it is still better than nothing. Each lecture source code is being available on our GitHub repository. One more thing I want to mention is, okay, let me check it. Okay, we have also seen View components previous week, and they were even better than the partial views. But according to your needs, you can use either partial views or View components. Both is fine.
Various server-side technologies have solved this problem in different ways, from the include statement of PHP to the master pages technology of ASP.NET Web Forms. They all come with their own set of advantages and disadvantages, but they all solve the same problem. They allow you to reuse all the stuff that would otherwise have to be repeated in each file, and even worse, manually edited in each file for even the smallest, global change, and only specify the unique content for each of your pages.
This is actually a methodology that you have to follow in your entire programming career. What I mean is, you should never do copy paste of code. You should never have duplicate code in your projects. You have to make them like a class or method or another thing to reuse them. Okay, library, DLL file. With this way, the changes you made is applied to everywhere. You don't have to manually change it from wherever you have copy and pasted. It makes your code more efficient, easier to understand, easier to manage, many more things. So never have copy paste code, never have duplicate code. Okay, this is a mandatory rule for programming.
In ASP.NET MVC, you can use something called a layout, often in combination with sections. You can have one or several layouts in your project and each can include 0 or more sections. We will go through all the various layout-related concepts in the following articles.
So there are layout, and layouts have sections. So this is what we are going to see. Layout files.
As discussed in the introduction to this chapter, a layout file allows you to reuse common markup across multiple web pages in your project. This is done by specifying all the common stuff in a layout file and then referencing this file in all of your subpages, unless you don't want them to use the common layout, of course.
So if you're adding a page that will use your common layout, then you include your layout file. For example, each page of this website includes a common layout, which is menu bar, the right sidebar, the footer, and such. It is same in many of the websites that you already use. If you pay attention, you will notice that.
In ASP.NET MVC, layout files looks just like a regular view and they also use the same extension, CSHTML. It could look like this.
Okay, so this is a layout file. So what do we see different in this layout file? We see that a special method called render body. So this is something new to us.
Notice how it's almost just a regular HTML file, except for the render body, razor method. This part is required in a layout file, because it specifies where the content of the page using the layout should be placed. The file using the layout could look like this.
So this is a layout CSHTML, layout test. So this is a regular page which includes a layout. It is coming from View shared layout CSHTML, as you can see. So this is the naming and it has hello world.
Again, the magic happens in the razor part, where we specify the layout to be used. ASP.NET MVC will now combine these two files each time the layout test view is used, resulting in something like this when the page is returned to the browser.
Okay, I will just do an example in a moment.
Adding a layout to your MVC project. We already discussed, in a previous article, how you can add views to your project. Fortunately, it's just as easy to add a layout view to your project, as I will now demonstrate, but there are a couple of guidelines that I would like for you to know about first.
Okay, guidelines are important part of MVC programming.
Layouts are usually placed in a subfolder of the Views folder called Shared. This is one of the places ASP.NET will automatically search if you don't specify a full path to your layout file.
This also has been asked to me that how Microsoft finds paths. It looks for default paths. For layouts, it looks Views folder, then shared folder. Okay, if you don't put your layout file inside your shared folder, then you have to specify full path, such as here. This is the full path, as you can see. It uses the server side root special character. This means that go to the root of the server.
The file name of layout views are usually prefixed with an underscore to indicate that this is not a regular view. If you only plan on using one layout, it could be called simply underscore layout, CSHTML. Otherwise, use a name to indicate what the layout will be used for, e.g. underscore authenticated user layout, CSHTML.
Okay, this makes so much sense because usually you display two different layouts to your users. First one is when the user is logged in, and the second one is when the user is not logged in. So basically you can have two different layouts. It can be also achieved with using single layout as well, but it is totally up to you how you design it. So you can have multiple layouts or have single layout.
With that in mind, let's add a layout to our project. I'm assuming that you already have a Views folder with a shared folder inside. If not, you may add it, as described previously in this tutorial.
Let's add layout into our shared folder. Here I'm going to add view. Okay, it will be an empty view. Then I will name it as master layout. Okay, you see I have removed the extension, but it will be automatically added. So this is a razor view page. There is also razor layout as well, but you see it is actually same. Let's use the master layout CSHTML as razor layout. Okay, so this is the layout page. You see it has the simple HTML information, meta name, and content, device width. You see it uses viewback title. So this title will come from view page that inherits this layout. Okay, and the body here will come from the page that inherits this layout. Okay. So we will see that how it works. We have now our layout as master layout.
A file called underscore layout, CSHTML, will now be created, consisting of basic HTML and an empty layout statement in the top. All you need to do is add your own markup and then remember to add a call to the render body method in the place where you want the page content to be inserted, like this.
Now, as we can see, they are automatically added here. Render body, it doesn't have any layout reference and it has viewback title. Now we can reference it in our pages. So let's make some rehearsal of our previous lectures. First, I will start with a new controller. So let's call this controller as lecture 5. Okay, lecture 5. Okay, lecture 5 controller. And for this controller, I am going to add lecture 5. So I will use the naming convention. I will add a new folder, lecture 5. And inside lecture 5, I will add a new view. By default, it is index view, as you know. So let's add a razor view. Okay, so you see when we select a view, we can also pick our template, you see reference script libraries, and use a layout page. We can also include a layout page. Okay, I will not use a layout page here. I am just adding a simple view. Since we have selected include scripts, I think it is taking a bit longer time. So the lecture 5 controller is ready here. Lecture 5 view is getting added. You see still we are using lecture 1 namespace because we are doing copy and paste. Okay, so it has failed. So let's just add a razor view empty. We don't need anything included right now. Okay, index CSHTML. I can give any name to this. It is totally up to me. So let's use the default naming convention. Okay, so our empty view is ready. Let's add a model to use in this new view. Okay, I can use the existing models as well, but it's kind of we are seeing again our previous lecture. So let's call this model name. What can it be? Okay, school management or school library. Yeah. Okay, I will name it as school library. It's a regular class actually. Okay, so in this school library, what do we have? What should we have? Let's have a manager name, for example. Okay, well, let's make it a string. Manager name. Let's have list of books. I am currently designing a simple model. So let's make it okay. Name of books. Okay. All right. Let's make it like this. Okay, so let's go back to our lecture 5. Currently, our lecture 5 index has nothing. Its controller is here. So when we call lecture 5, it will return view. Which view? It will return index view under lecture 5. Here, index CHHTML. Let's set it to our starting page. How do we do it? We do it under startup, and the default will be controller as lecture 5. Action will be index, and it can take ID. Do our index takes any ID here, our index action? No, it doesn't take anything, so providing it doesn't make any difference. Hello world lecture 5 index. Let's run our application to see. So this will be our default starting page because we have set it in our startup. We will see more about routing, and we haven't come to that part yet. So don't worry about it at the moment. Okay, you see hello world lecture 5 index is running. So actually this is equal to lecture 5 index. You see it is same. So let's add another view under lecture 5, empty view. So let's name it as list books. Okay, razor view empty, list books. Okay, so how can I call this page right now? How can I call? First, I will show you the incorrect way. List of books page of lecture 5. Currently, can I visit this page somehow? With full path, I think I can with the traditional way. Let's see. Okay, so this was equal to lecture 5 index. Can I access it with list of books CSHTML? No. So it is under views folder, views, then lecture 5. No, still failing. Okay, so how can I access this list of books? List book, sorry about that. Okay, still not working. Okay, so I am not able to access this because in MVC our aim is separating the model view and controller. So this is a view page. To access this view page, I am going to add an action to lecture 5. I will name the action as whatever the name you want, list books. And this will return view, but which view? Our view name is same as list book. So if I return view, it will return list books view. Okay, so if I give another name to this books just, then I have to provide different name. I will do several examples so you will understand it. So now with list books action, now it should work because we are following the default naming convention. I am showing this because some of our students has messaged me and said me that they are having hard time to understand. So lecture 5 list books. So this is the action name. You see now it is working. Now I will add another one. So let's name this as another view. I will name it as iteration. Something really different. Iteration. Iterating books on this page. Okay. I will access this here with a different action name. Okay, I will access this view with just list action. So now I have to provide the name of the view because they are not matching. Okay, this matching views. Okay, then lecture 5, then list books CSHTML. Therefore, I can call it exactly as it is. This does not matching views 5 and list CSHTML. Therefore, provide view name. I will just provide the view name of iteration. However, we are still not providing the full path. Okay. Why? Because still following the default naming convention. Therefore, we don't need to provide full path yet. So lecture 5 list. Okay, it is working. So we don't provide CSHTML. Then I will add another action here, test. Okay, this time I want to call unconventional test. Okay, so it will be like this, unconventional, okay, test. Then this time I have to write full path. This will call another view, full path. Okay, so now I am expecting to see test CSHTML. We haven't seen the layout yet, but I will show you that, don't worry. So we are remembering our information because MVC is rather hard to understand. Okay, so to call it, then now I will call lecture 5 test. Now it is working as expected. Okay, so now let's add our master layout to our index. So how do we do that? To do it, we reference the layout. So the layout will be equal to, I wonder if we can just provide the name because we are using the default convention. Okay, let's just first try with just the name of the layout because we are using the default path. Okay, so it appears that our layout has, we can't know that our layout failed or not. So let's just add a style here. Okay, I will make the background color. Okay, let's make it red and let's restart. Since we don't have title or we don't have any styling in our layout to be able to see whether our layout is working or not, let's just add some. Okay, so our layout is working. You see, this is working because layout is placed under views shared with CSHTML extension. Okay, so I didn't have to, therefore I didn't have to provide full path. How was the full path? The full path was like this. Alright, so our layout now works, so we can do anything we want with the layout and then it will be applied on every page that includes the layout. So such as, let me show you. Let's get the layout. So this is the render body. After the render body, let's put another div here and let's write the title. Title of the page is view back title. Currently we didn't set any title. Okay, so I will set the title here. How am I going to do that? Okay, title equal to index page of lecture 5. Okay, we can't set it like this. I think to be able to set it, we need to open and close some server-side code. Okay, so this is just assigning parameter to view back, but we can do it on here as well. I will just keep it here. And then on our controller, okay, let's add iteration the layout as well. Here, iteration, let's add the layout. Okay, on the iteration page, which we call from our here, I will set the title equal to, this is iteration page title set in controller. And for list books, I won't have any title. So let's get the list books as well. Layout, okay, here. Okay, so let's see each page and how they are printed on the screen. Okay, so the first one is our index page. Okay, title of the page is index page of lecture 5. It is working as expected. Then let's see lecture 5. And for iteration, what was our action name? Okay, it was list. So let's call the list action. Okay, it is still working. Now we have set this in controller and finally list book or list books, what was it? Okay, list books. It is not uppercase or lowercase sensitive. As you can see, it's case insensitive. Okay, title of the page is empty. So the framework is handling null values obviously. So this is a null value, but if it is null, it doesn't throw any error. It is just printing an empty string or nothing. Okay, so now we can continue. I am hoping that this has refreshed your memory of our previous lectures. Okay, so next, let's continue with the ViewStart file.
In the previous article, we learned how to create a layout view, which could be reused across multiple views. A layout is applied to a view whenever it's referenced through the layout property, like this.
Yes, we have seen that.
Under normal circumstances, you would have to do this for all the pages where you want to use this layout. That's pretty cool, because it gives you the flexibility to use multiple layouts or even have pages which doesn't use a shared layout. However, for a lot of projects, you will likely have only one common layout or at least one you use in most situations. Fortunately for us, there's an easy way to specify a default layout, which will be used unless you specifically override it within the page, the ViewStart file.
Okay, so instead of adding manually to each page that we have, we can use a default layout. We will override it in ViewStart file. So what is ViewStart file?
The ViewStart file is actually much like a normal view, and it also has the same extension, CSHTML. So to use it, you should just add a view to your views folder called _ViewStart, CSHTML. We'll get to that in a minute, but for now, you should know that ASP.NET MVC will automatically look for a ViewStart file and interpret it before it interprets the actual page, view. That allows you to specify common functionality, like in this case, where we will use it to specify a default layout for all pages. But first, let's add a ViewStart file to our project.
Okay, so this is really important to understand. Let's repeat this part.
ASP.NET MVC will automatically look for a ViewStart file and interpret it before it interprets the actual page, view. That allows you to specify common functionality.
So we can use ViewStart to define common functionality which would be included all of our views. Therefore, we can make any modification which would be reflected to all of our view pages. So it is a great thing to use actually. Like we can define included JavaScript libraries or other things in ViewStart. They will be all available in all our view files.
Just like for layout files, the file name should be prefixed with an underscore to state that this is not just a regular view.
Okay.
The content of this file should be just what you need to do before a regular view is interpreted. There are many use cases for this, but the one we'll look into is defining a default, fallback layout, which will always be used unless specifically overridden. It can be done like this.
Okay, so basically ASP.NET MVC is looking ViewStart CSHTML, which is placed under views. Let's do it. Okay, empty view. Just name it as ViewStart. Yes, it is here. And in this ViewStart, we will define the layout. Okay, so this was our layout. Okay, now layout will be included in all pages where there is no layout set. For example, we didn't set layout in our previous pages. For example, product index. Let's see it. Okay.
Now, whenever you add a view to your project, you can check the Use a Layout Page option, as seen on the screenshot, but leave the text field empty. Your layout will automatically be applied to your new view and you don't have to set the layout property manually for each view anymore.
Okay, let's see it. For example, product dynamic. Okay, as you can see, our layout is now available. So the title is here. ViewStart is already working. Can we override the layout provided in ViewStart? Let's test that as well. I will add another layout here under shaded. Let's say new item, laser view empty. I will name it as layout second. Okay, so inside this layout, I will copy and paste this. This time, let's use a different color. For example, brown. Okay, let's apply layout second to our, let's see, index page of lecture 5. So second layout. So this should override the layout provided in ViewStart, since these are defined as server-side controls. Okay, so it says there is no second layout. We have provided different name. Oh, layout second, yes. Okay, error also displaying which paths it has looked. So it has looked views, lecture 5 second layout, views shared second layout, pages shared second layout. So Microsoft ASP.NET Core MVC has looked these three places and all of them have failed. Therefore, it has thrown an error. Now it should work. If I don't define any layout, then it will use the layout that we have defined in the ViewStart file here. Okay, so it is working. Now we can look for example another page, product.index, or see from the product controller. Okay, we have details. Yes, let's give details. As you can see, it is using the default layout. Now we can continue multiple ViewStart files. So this is important.
For most projects, you will likely just have one ViewStart file, which is most commonly placed in the root of your views folder. However, in larger projects, you might find it relevant to have more than one ViewStart file, usually to give more specific directions to views in a specific folder. Fortunately for us, the ViewStart system is hierarchical, meaning that ASP.NET MVC will look for a ViewStart file in the same folder as the requested view first and then move up the folder hierarchy if one is not found.
Okay, you can of course use this to your advantage.
You can of course use this to your advantage and create another ViewStart file in one of your views subfolders. This ViewStart file will then be used for all the views found in this folder. The structure could then look like this.
Okay, so currently product pages views were looking for the main ViewStart. So under product, I will add another ViewStart, empty, and let's name it as ViewStart. Okay, and in this ViewStart, so this was our root ViewStart, and it will be overridden for product pages here. I will just call the layout second. So the product pages now will use the layout second by default. Okay, let's see. So this will override the root ViewStart. Root ViewStart is under views. This ViewStart is under product. So all product pages will use the second layout. As you can see now, check it from product item. Yes, it is using the second layout. However, if we use lecture 5 list, it uses the first layout. Okay. So now we have examples of both.
Summary: the ViewStart file allows you to define common logic which will be automatically applied to all of your views, like defining a default fallback layout, as demonstrated in this article. You may also use it to define other types of common logic, like sharing information across all views by putting them in the view data from the ViewStart file and then referencing it from your views. We'll discuss the view data functionality in a later article.
Okay, so let's make example of this as well. I will just assign a view data dot, for example, let's tell something. Okay, something equal to whatever we put in layout second. So this will be available in, okay, to be set it, I have to open and close server code like this. Okay. So now I can access this something in all the pages that includes, okay, view data, view back something. It is dynamic, view data is not. Okay, so second ViewStart was available in, for example, index of product. So let's type it here. Okay, ViewBox something like this. Data from ViewStart. Let's add a new line. Let's open the index of product page. This should be available in the pages that uses the second layout. However, it won't be available in the pages that uses the first layout. The product dynamic. No, it's not here because we didn't print it. Okay, so index is details. Okay, here we can see it here. Data from ViewStart, whatever we put in the layout second. It is working as expected. This is great. If I type here something, what would happen? Let's put a div here, some values, and I wonder how will it be displaying. So this is the master layout. It is being used in the index page of lecture 5. Okay, some values. So you see this is put into the beginning of the page. Okay, so when we open the source code, we see it here, some values. Okay, so you see this ViewStart is embedded inside where inside here. So this is using master layout, and when we open master layout, it uses render body. So as you can see, it is coming. Okay, where did we put it? Some values, master layout. Oh, on this page, actually, we use, oh, I see. So this is even interesting. As a layout, it uses the layout second index page. However, it also includes ViewStart as well. ViewStart is added to every page. Okay, there is no confusion. So it is being embedded into where, if you wonder, it is being embedded into render body. When we check the source code, we see it embedded here. Yes, it is embedded into top of the render body here. So you can even type something into ViewStart and it will become available right after the render body, like here. So let's continue. There are also sections in layout designing. This is important.
A layout allows you to reuse common content across multiple pages, but sometimes you might need to slightly vary the content rendered from the layout based in the actual page. Common scenarios for this would be to include some extra JavaScript code in the head section, add an extra menu item to the menu, or implement a custom sidebar based on which part of the website the user has navigated to. This is where sections comes into the picture. They simply allow you to define a spot in the layout file where the page view may inject custom markup. Let's jump straight to an example so you can see what I mean.
Okay, so in this page, asp.mvctutorial.com, actually we are seeing that. You see, according to the page, the right menu, right navigation is changing. You see, it is displaying at the top in which chapter we are, and it highlights it like this and such. Okay, so let's continue.
First, we add a render section, call to our existing layout file. If you haven't added a layout to your project yet, just go back to one of the previous articles to learn how to do it.
Okay, so we are going to add render section like this, render section footer. We add it to our layout file. So our index.cshtml of lecture 5 uses layout second. Therefore, I will open the layout second here. I will add a render section footer inside it. So what happens if we don't provide section footer? Let's see it. And meanwhile, let's continue.
Notice the call to render section. It's pretty much like render body, because it simply defines the place where a certain type of content should be rendered. In this case, we want to render a section called footer near the bottom of the view. We should now define this section in the pages views using the layout. Here are two different views, which uses the layout, but each of them will have a separate piece of content for our footer section.
If we don't provide this section in our view, then we are getting an error. Invalid operation exception, cannot find the section footer. So if you add this to your layout, then you have to add footer section into all views that uses layout second. So how do we define different sections for different pages? It is like this. Let's find which pages are using layout second currently. The pages inside product and the index.html. So how do we define section? It is like this. You see it is highlighted as yellow. Section name is footer. So this is the footer page of index of lecture 5. So this will be printed wherever the section is located. I can even type this to the top like this. It will be displayed inside here after this div. So let's put the footer in a different div. Let's set it a different background color, and perhaps let's make it this. Let's add some padding, font size. Okay, whatever we want. And now footer will be rendered in here, and we have defined a footer in our index.cshtml. In product.cshtml, let's set a footer section at the top, and this is the footer section of product index or product pages. And let's run the application to see how they are placed. By the way, the names must match. Okay, so the footer of page of index of lecture 5 is visible. Let's check it for product as well. Okay, it says we have a problem. Oh, this is a different page. I have to call the details page because I didn't add the footer in other pages. Yes, the footer is available here. However, I don't see the styling. What may be the reason? Oh, styling is applied. Okay. Oh, font size is not. Oh, font size is also. Okay, everything is working as expected. This is about sections. So with sections, we can design different views to display different information with using same layout.
Notice the middle part, where we define content for the footer section. The syntax is quite simple. The razor at character, followed by the section keyword and then the name of the section we want to define. Inside the set of curly braces we can then define the content of the section. In this case, we just have a simple piece of text, but you are of course free to include markup as well. Let's do just that for our products view.
Okay, so you can also set styling like this. It totally works. For example, let's do it index of our lecture 5 like this. And here I will add another feature. I will make them equal to 30 pixels and font style. Let's make it italic. So when I restart, this will be also applied.
If you have already defined a _ViewStart file, as described previously, the two views will automatically use our layout page, including the section. With that in place, you will now see these views reuse the content from the layout file, but with varying content in our footer section.
This is how this footer is displayed. For another page that uses the same footer, which is product pages, it will be displayed differently. Let's check it out. Okay, product details. Okay, here footer is displayed like this and it is displayed like this here. So it is totally up to us. Okay, there are also optional sections. So these are mandatory sections because when I now go to product dynamic, it will throw an error because in dynamic, we don't provide the section footer. Okay, which one is the dynamic? The dynamic is this page. There is no section footer, therefore it is failing. There is optional sections for such cases.
By default, all sections are required, just like the body is. This means that if your page uses a layout with one or several defined sections, your page, view needs to define all of these sections. If they don't, you will receive an error. This is a great way to make sure that all your pages implements the required content. However, you can very easily transform a required section into an optional section when defining it.
Okay, so here, as you can see, we are getting an error. Now I will fix it. How am I going to do that? Well, I will open the layout section, master layout. Okay, layout section. You see our footer layout is here. I will provide extra parameter which is required. So the required is boolean, therefore I will set it false. Now when I open dynamic page of product, it won't throw an error because we have changed it that this section now it is not anymore mandatory, therefore it will work without that section as well. However, div is still included, therefore we can see it here. Okay, so this is the way we do it.
Notice the extra parameter when calling the render section command. It simply states that this section is no longer required, meaning that your pages can define this section or not. If the section is not defined, nothing will be rendered.
There is also another way.
Checking if a section has been defined. When declaring a section is optional, it can be useful to know whether the calling page, view defines this section or not. This allows you to define some fallback content, in case the content is not supplied by the page, view, like this.
Okay, we can also include a message in the pages where section is not defined. How do we do that? We add something like this into our layout. Now we will see this message if the section is not defined. So it uses if section is defined method. Here is coming from Microsoft ASP.NET Core MVC Razor page is section defined. Okay, so the section is defined here, therefore no errors. Then let's try this. Okay, you see section is not defined, therefore we get generic footer message. Okay, I can also put this inside this div, so it won't be anymore empty. Let's run it.
Summary sections allow you to define specific areas in your layout where you can inject content from the page, view using the layout. This can be used in a wide range of scenarios, as seen in the above examples.
Okay, so this has a section footer and the other page, dynamic, doesn't have, so the generic footer message is displayed. Okay, before we continue with ViewImport file, let's list the elements in our school library. So to do that, I go to our lecture 5 and list. So here I will define an object of school library, and it is available in models, therefore dot lib. Okay, so the school library takes which objects? Let's define them. Manager name, let's set it as count. List, let's set the list of books as well. Okay, book A, book B, C. Then we will provide this model to our view. Which view? Iteration view. And iteration view is here. Look, my mouse cursor here. So I will send the model. By the way, we have put new keyword here incorrectly. Okay, so now it is taking this model, and in iteration view will set the model as equal to lecture 1 model school library. Now I can iterate the elements, and how am I gonna do that? It will be like this. So inside our model dot list of books, so let's define an unordered list. Okay, and here manager name library manager equal to model dot, okay, manager name. By the way, you see there is case difference. This is model with big M, and here it is with smaller m. Okay, and then the others will be like here lib, and okay, just write the item. You can also name it as book name, so it will be better. Now let's open our iteration page. For our iteration page, what do we use? Which action do we use? It is inside here, lecture 5 controller. The action name is list. Okay, and then we will continue. So I am showing you this to just remind of our previous lectures, because as I said, some students are having hard time to understand. I know that it is hard. Okay, now the listing is working. Sample is iteration books on this page, library manager for fun, book A, book B, book C. Okay, now we can continue with ViewImport files.
The ViewImports file, ASP.NET MVC in Razor comes with a lot of advanced functionality for working with your views. For instance, you can reference types from your own project or even from the .NET framework in your views, but since the view is completely separate from the controller in this aspect, all your using statements in the controller doesn't do anything in your view. This means that you will either have to use full references, like this,
or like this,
or as an alternative, include the namespace in your view, using a using statement.
Okay, so what does this mean? Let's first understand what does this mean. I'm going to open my school library and define a data set. For data set to be defined, I have to add using system data. So I have added this into my reference, and this is some vals. Okay, I will actually make this data table. Okay, and I will make this as new instance. Okay, in our lecture 5 controller, I will add some records to my data table. Okay, let's rename this first. Okay, here, okay, add, okay, rows, add. So for adding row, it is expecting array of values or data row. So let's add a new data row. You see it is automatically writing full path of the data row. I mean, since we didn't add its reference to here, new system data row, and it takes what, okay, so there is no, maybe, how do we define data row? Okay, here, data table dt clear, columns name. To edit, let's add the reference as well. Let's add A and B, easy columns. Then we define data row Ravi equal to dt new row. Okay, so we define it from the type of data table. We have columns. Okay, let's make this something price and name. Okay, data row book price equal to, for example, this book name equal to introduction to programming, and let's add the book. Okay, this is not important. The reason I have done this is how we are going to use it here. Okay, for example, let's show model dot this. Now will this work? Okay, it says that for each statement cannot operate data table because the, okay, I have to set this as rows. Now it is T model book name. Would it work like this? We don't have the reference of data row here. Can I type it data row here? No, it is not available in here. Can I type system data row? Yeah, looks like I can give the full path from its full namespace. However, if it was something else, it would be harder. So alternatively, I can do this. Show you. Here, let's delete this. We don't need this. Using system data. Oh, system data row is not available. Why? SQL client. No. If I edit like this. Okay, now it is available. As you can see, I can either define references like this, or we can use ViewImport, which I am going to do. Because if I do it like this, I have to change every View file that I have. So ViewImport is coming handy in this case.
However, you would have to do this in all your views, for all the namespaces you would like to have included. This is a lot of work, especially if you later decide to include another namespace in all your views, but fortunately, ASP.NET MVC can help us out. The solution is called ViewImports and is used by including a file called _ViewImports, CSHTML in your project. Just like the _ViewStart, CSHTML file, the _ViewImports, CSHTML file is invoked for all your views, before they are rendered. It allows you to define common functionality in imports, e.g. the already mentioned using statements. The _ViewImports, CSHTML file can be used for more than just a common set of using statements though. As of writing, it supports the following Razor directives.
Okay, so there are some directives such as using inject model, inherit, add tag helper, remove tag helper prefix. So let's add a ViewImport to our project. Where do we add it? We add it under shared, add View, and it will be named as ViewImports. Okay, you have to name it exactly as that, and then I will add using system data. Okay. Now let's see if our problem is fixed on our iteration page. Okay, it is still saying that we are missing a reference. And why? Okay, let's find the reason. Okay. Oh, we had to edit under views, not under shared. Maybe it is because of that. So let's move to upper folder. Like here, then here to views. Okay. Okay, it is located under View because I want it to be globally available, not only under shared. Let's see. Okay, now it is available because now this reference is coming from ViewImport and it will work as we expect. However, we didn't write features, so it won't be printed properly. I will fix in a moment. Okay, so let's write it as table. Okay, so first let's write the name. Okay, what values we have? The first one is the name of the book, so to string, and the second one is the price. Okay, so the price will be equal to, and the name will be like this. Okay, so perhaps we can also even like this. It is not much important. If I want to format this with comma character, I mean thousand separator, how can I do that? I can write an extension. It will be another good example. So under our classes, I will add global classes here and global class. I will make this static, public static class, global class, and here I will write an extension. It will be public, so string format number, and it will take this dot object number object. What it is going to do is we will have a value double dbl result equal to double dot none, and if double dot try parse number object to string out result, if it is true, we will return result to string with and 0, else we will return none. Okay, return none. Okay, now I can call this to shape these numbers. So I will copy and paste to show you the difference, formatted and non-formatted. So instead of toString, I will call format number. But as you can see, it is not available. So how can I make it available? It is simple. To make it available, I will go to my ViewImport using lecture 1 classes dot nothing. I think it should now become available. Yes, now it is available. You see, it is getting string extension from tmodel format number, and when I run, the iteration. Iteration is action of list, I believe. Yes, list C. Okay, and then lecture 5 list. Okay, and okay, we have some issue. We are able to see this, but this one is not available. And why? Because this is probably null. And I know the reason. Because we have composed this data table, however, we didn't assign it to our model data table, which is here, will be equal to dt. By the way, this will only assign its reference, therefore this is totally performance point of view same. This is not copying entire object into this one. It is just reference copying. And then, okay, now it is available. You see, we have incorrectly set the columns. First one is price, the second one is name. Therefore, we need to change their order. This now it should work as we wanted. Actually, we should move this into the here, where let me show you. Okay, in our model school library, I will set it here. So I will have a constructor, public school library, and in the constructor, I will add the columns. This, okay, and then on here, this data row will be equal to lib dot it is some values data row, new row. This is a more proper way, I think. At book. Let's remove this. Now it should work better. Yeah. The previous one would work as well, but I think keeping the table columns in our model is better approach. Yes, introduction. So this is non-formatted price and this is the formatted price. I could also format it as Turkish separators with dot or European. Doesn't matter. It is up to you. Alright, so now we know the ViewStart and ViewImport. Let's see the difference.
Underscore ViewStart versus underscore ViewImports. At this point, you may have noticed that the underscore ViewStart and underscore ViewImports files are quite similar. They both allow you to implement functionality that will be automatically applied to your views. However, there's a very important difference. Any using statements added to the underscore ViewStart file is scoped to this file and doesn't apply to the actual views. On the other hand, the underscore ViewImports file is specifically designed to extend the scope to the views, allowing your views to take advantage of the using statements defined in the underscore ViewImports file.
We can also give an example to this to explain the difference. For example, okay, so the string builder is not available here because it uses system.text. When I add it to ViewStart, like here, it won't be still available in here. Okay, still not available as you can see because the using only applies to ViewStart. For example, now I can use string builder here, my builder new builder, as you can see, but this applies to only scope of ViewStart. However, if I add it to here, now it will be available in my all CSHTML files. Now as you can see, I can use it as I want. Build something, name builder, and whatever we want. Now we can use it. So this is the difference between ViewStart and ViewImport. If you want to import some libraries into your views, then the ViewImport is the file that you have to use, and it has to be positioned under views folder here. If you position it under, for example, let's say product, then only product pages would be able to use it, I believe. For example, let's try it. Okay, now I will copy and paste it into one of the product. Okay, here, let's see. Yes, it is working here, but on index of CSHTML, it won't be available. So it is checking from the lowest to upper. So when we put ViewImport under product, the ViewImport scope is only available under the views under the product folder. Okay. However, when I move it to root of views, it will be available all views inside views. It still wouldn't be available here. So this wouldn't work because the test is under different folder. So the folder hierarchy does matter. So if I want it to be available here as well, then there is no upper folder. Therefore, I have to also add it here, or I have to define another view import under this folder as well. Okay, you get the idea of the scopes. The ViewStart and ViewImport are available under which scope they are. This is like classes and methods. If you are at upper level, then you can access it. Let me show what does this mean. For example, let's say I have another class here, public test, okay, and okay, of course not this way. Prop, okay, string, okay, gg equal to test, okay. And now, can I access this gg here? No, because its scope is only under test. For example, if I write a method like this, okay, test A, gg is equal to something like this. Okay, so it is same. If I define it here, I can access it both here and here, or if I define it here, this is only available under the same hierarchical level. Okay, next chapter is routing, and routing is really important. Therefore, I will start routing next week. I want you to understand this week perfectly fine. Okay, not this one. Let's note what we have seen this week. Okay, so what we have seen. We have seen the layout. Okay, what is a layout in a web design? Okay, how to design includes scripts or libraries into views by using ViewStart or ViewImport. Okay,